for you by Management Mechanics' very own Eric Bloom. My name is Brian. I'm with New Horizons. I'm going to be your MC for today. So all that means is that if you have any questions or any comments, please feel free to put those in the questions or chat box in the go-to webinar, and I can go ahead and relay those to Eric or answer them if need be for him. So once again, this is provided by New Horizons. So who is New Horizons? We are the proven worldwide training provider with flexible learning solutions covering a broad spectrum of topics taught by industry-leading instructors. So a few quick facts about us. We're the largest international network of training that there is. And we have flexible integrated learning methods to fit everyone's needs. So with that being said, I'd like to now go ahead and give it over to Eric so he can go ahead and get started.
Hi, Brian. Thank you for engineering today's webinar, as well as to New Horizons for sponsoring it. And of course, we'd like to welcome everybody who's with me today on the line. 2 seconds on me, then it's 58 minutes of content. As Brian mentioned, I'm the President and CTO of Management Mechanics. We specialize in IT leadership and soft skills and productivity training. As you see, I've written a few books, the latest of which actually is coming out, I hope, next week. Productivity-Driven Success, which is on organizational productivity. In addition to that, I'm past president of National Speakers Association, and you can follow me on Twitter at Eric P. Bloom. Lastly, I would just like to say is that some of the materials in here, and I'll have one shameless marketing slide at the end, but basically is that we do this type of webinar free for you informationally once a month. Our next one is on April 12th, and you'll see that what the topic's going to be at the end. I hope that you find it equally as interesting. And we also have some classes that we offer that we'll mention to you at that time. But anyway, enough about me, as they say. Let's all the rest of it be about you. Where'd my slide advance? There we go. What I'd like to do, as we're thinking about fostering IT innovation, one of the first things that we need to do is we need to open up our minds to innovation. We have to be looking around for things. We have to be professionally curious. And we have to be interested in seeing not only what's around us, but then how those things that are around us can, in fact, be improved. So let's begin just by truly trying to expand your thinking. To do that, oh, excuse me. I was on an airplane. I'm actually speaking to you from a hotel in Denver. And the people behind me on the plane last night decided that they wanted to basically be coughing all day. So this being virtual, I promise you I won't give you this cold I think I'm getting. But anyway, what I'd like you to do is this is a very, very important slide for you, an important concept, well beyond fostering innovation, as important as it is for the innovation topic. And what it is you should be looking beyond your current role, and that allows you to begin noticing things that you would otherwise miss. What I mean by this is we can get so tied up in the work, whatever our job is if we're a business analyst, we're working to put together the functional specification. If we're a project manager, it's where do we stand in the project? Who do we have to talk to? Where are we behind on things? Where are we ahead? What's the percentage complete? If you're a programmer, then it's on the programming in hand. Here are the specifications given by the BA. What are we going to develop? If you're in the help desk, you're running from place to place, fixing PCs, etc. So what happens is, what this concept is about, is what you want to do is you want to look up. You want to see what's going on around you. View what your bosses are doing, what they're thinking, how IT is viewed, the other things going on in the organization. Because what's really, really interesting is whether you're talking about innovation, career planning, managing up to your boss or those stakeholders related to the project you're on, or for that matter, trying to either manage or live through organizational change. All of them start, and all of them will benefit from you following this philosophy of just looking up from your schedule, up from the things you're doing, and just pay attention to those nuances that you see around the office. And if you do, what you'll do is you will find that it will be of great value to you. Now, I want to give you an example of this philosophy. Have you ever driven down the highway, a highway that you're always on? Even though I'm in Denver, I'm from Massachusetts, we have a major road called the Massachusetts Turnpike. In fact, anyone who, if we have any James Taylor fans in it, he has a song in it where he says, going from Stockbridge to Boston. That's the road. That's the Mass Pike. But anyway, you drive a highway you drive all the time. All of a sudden, you look down at your dashboard and you're very low on gas. A little light comes on saying, feed me, feed me, feed me. And all of a sudden, you look up, and everywhere you turn, you see gas station signs. Now, were those signs always there? Of course not. But now is that this is the first time you've needed gas driving down that road. Why haven't you seen them before? Because it's not something that was important to you at the time. When you have a full tank of gas, you basically ignore and not pay attention to the gas station sign. There's a name for this. What it is, it's called filtering. Our minds, through evolution, are great at this. Think about it. You're in a room with 50 people and you're talking to one person. There are all these other conversations going on around you that you ignore. If you did not ignore those, then it would be sensory overload and you couldn't pay attention to what you're doing. This was a survival instinct. Say, let's go back 20,000 years. You're a cave person, you've walked out of your cave, and you're picking blueberries for lunch. And all of a sudden, in the distance, you see a saber-toothed tiger who thinks that they'd like you for lunch. Well, what you have to do is you have to ignore or filter out all of those things going on around you so you can concentrate on the risk at hand. So this is something that humans are very, very adept at doing as a survival instinct. However, what happens is that when you do this related to your job, related to not seeing those things that are going on around you, what happens is you miss lots of nuances. It can help you get promoted. It can help you deepen your understanding of your industry. It can help you understand your company, how to get things done, things along that line. And as a result of all those things, not only will it help you, based on today's topic, find places where there are inefficiencies or where innovation can occur based on other technologies you've seen around the company, seen in other industries, or quite frankly, heard in webinars like this one. And all of these things will not only help your current job performance, because you'll be understanding things from your boss's perspective, if you think of things from your boss's perspective, but it will also properly position you for future promotions. Why? Because you're looking at things from a wider preview than your own job and task at hand. So as we go through this, take this both as a concept that hopefully will be of great value to you moving forward, but also as a basis for the rest of today's webinar of, yes, you should be thinking about things going on in and around you. Now, what I'd like to do is I'd like to turn to your thoughts on innovation. What is innovation and why is it important? But also, it has to be from an IT perspective. Now, as you know, this is in big blue letters. We have a fairly strong following of people who follow my webinars on a monthly basis. So you know what I'm going to say. I'm going to say, because it's in big blue letters, it's the law that I have to read it to you. I'll read it pseudo word for word, but certainly I expand upon it as I'm going through it. But okay, what is IT innovation? Notice I'm not saying what is innovation in general. I'm saying what is it as it relates to the IT function. Innovation in IT is a successful, now this is the first part of it, creation, implementation, enhancement, or improvement. So if you break it down to this, now it's important for you to understand each one of these points. The reason being is because each one is a different area where you can be providing innovation. First of all, it has to be successful. If you try something and it doesn't work, then you know what? That's okay, and we'll talk about that later under talking about a culture that facilitates innovation. But for it to be innovative, at the end of the day, it has to work. So that's the successful piece. So it's the creation. What is creation? Creation is building something new from scratch. New software, a new process, new connection between departments. It's something new. Implementation. It may be something that you've used in one place and now you're implementing in another place. It could be a piece of software that you've always had around and you say, gee, you know what? This feature came with something else that we bought. Why don't we use it and implement this now? I'll give you an example of this. Microsoft SQL Server has reporting and analytics services related to it that does multidimensional reporting and all sorts of, I think the technical term is cool stuff. There are lots of people that have implemented SQL Server who don't take advantage of those particular features. And by the way, if here I'm mentioning Microsoft, at other places I'll mention Oracle or SAP. Understand that the examples that I'm using here, if I use real companies and real products, I have no vested interest in this. I'm not trying to push you toward any of these products, but it sounds much better to talk about SQL Server and analytical services than it does to say company X and a potential, a potential package that it might have involved with it. So as an added Benny, I like to throw in real stuff, but please know I have no hidden agenda regarding the use, not use, etc. of these products, even though they are good. But anyway, so implementation. So all of a sudden, if you sit back and say, gee, I'll say we've picked Oracle, and say with Oracle you've got Hyperion as part of the deal, just as part of the corporate license that was negotiated, and you're not using it. The implementation of Hyperion and to provide value is in fact an innovation within IT because it's something that's being used that has not been used before within your IT shop. Enhancement, your standard productivity improvement. In fact, if you're not familiar with the word Kaizen, you should look that up. That's one of your homework assignments from this webinar. Of course, I'll never know, but you really should. What Kaizen is, it's actually a Japanese word that means good improvement. So what it is that, I hate using this example, but I'm going to use it. It's the reverse of death by 1,000 cuts. There, I said it. You know, what it is that if the enhancements, it's a little software improvement here, a little improvement in performance there, a bug fix here, a new feature there. That what happens is over the course of a year, you look back and you say, wow, all of those little improvements that we did sort of as one-offs, when you look at them collectively, we've really enhanced our internal product offering. Next is a technical process or business process. Is that, remember, is as IT, we may want to improve our, for example, if you have something that improves the quality, the throughput, the value of the nightly process that's produced, that's run from midnight till 4 in the morning every evening, or a business process. We're talking about IT innovation. Why would I talk about a business process? Well, I'm talking about a business process. The reason being is what is our job as IT? As IT, we're there to support and enhance the productivity, the functionality, and the general movement of the businesses we serve. So as a result, we can come up with innovation not only within IT, but things that are good for our business partners. And quite frankly, may or may not include technology. Now, we'll talk about the business partners being open to this and us understanding the business coming up. But for now, again, I'm spending a lot of time on this definition because it's so pivotal to what your thinking should be regarding innovation. All right, next is that, all right, what are you improving? Oh, technical and business process I just mentioned. A software product. It could be a hardware product. Now, by hardware product, I don't mean that you're going into the computer hardware business, but maybe you're using it in a new and better way. Also, it could be a cultural factor. There's a saying by Peter Drucker, a famous business process person, and what he says is that culture eats strategy for breakfast. So maybe the best way or the best thing you could do to enhance productivity or enhance innovation within your IT department is slowly move the culture toward a culture which is more open to innovation. Reduces costs, that's an obvious one, enhances productivity, or increases company competitiveness. Now, company competitiveness, how do you do that? We're going to be talking slightly on big data later in this presentation also, just briefly. But what happens is that, let's say, for example, you're using big data analytics to assess what your clients think of your company or your products, as well as your competitors' clients and products. You know, what are your competitors, or what are the users of your competitors' products saying about their product? And how can you use that and provide that data to the marketing department in a way that enhances their competitiveness? Because all of these things together provide what? They provide business value, which is what IT is here to do. That's why they fund us. You know, I was at various firms during my career, but I was at Fidelity Investments for about 10 years, through the 90s and into the beginning of the new century. Loved it there. Went in a manager, came out a VP, only left to be a bigger fish in a smaller ocean. But when I was there had to be, I don't know how many people in IT, 5,000, 10,000, some huge number of IT people. And you know what? When you're in an IT shop that's that big, which I'm sure that many of you are, is it's easy to think that a company exists to have an IT shop. Why? Because your whole world is encompassed by the IT function. But understand, when you look at it from outside the IT function, what they look to us for is business value. Now, with all that said, what I'd like you to do is just have a mental exercise for a moment. Sit back and just pick up your pencils or pens. Hopefully you're taking important notes. And just answer these questions yourself really quickly. And this is a good question to do later over a cup of coffee, over a glass of wine, things along that line. And said, how would you categorize your innovations from the last slide? In other words, look at this and say, where can you improve things? What technical processes, when you really look up beyond it based on our first slide and say, you know what, this technical process, when I really think about it, could use some work. Or a business process that you can sit and say, you know, being proactive rather than reactive as an IT person. And say, gee, you know what? I really think that we can provide value here if we do X. A software product where new features are involved. I'm going to give you a tip here. Let's say that you're supporting SAP or Oracle Financials, ERP, you know, some particular module from this. Is that if you're, say, using the SAP ERP, wow, how's this? It sounds like alphabet soup. The SAP ERP module, how's that? Phew, I got it out. And what I would suggest you do is look at Oracle, look at how other companies, look at SAP's competitors. What new features do they have coming out? How are they implementing it? How are they different? Do you know what? If you cull through this stuff, there is some great feature that Oracle has that SAP doesn't have. Conversely, there is some great feature that SAP has that the other way, that Oracle has, that SAP doesn't have. And that can give you great ideas of things that you may want to build internally as a custom item to greatly enhance your company's competitive advantage. Or, you know, use of a hardware product or cultural factor. So again, think of this. Write these questions down and use this as a structured discussion in your head or discuss with others related to where you think improvements can be made. Now, let's dig a little deeper. I really want you to put on your thinking caps now. Oh, my mother would be proud. She always said to me when I was doing my homework, she said, "Don't forget to put on your thinking cap." Of course, to this day, I don't know what a thinking cap is, but I'm assuming it means that you think hard. But anyway, here's a specific question for you. Think of the products and the data that you built inside of IT. Not, you know, about the Oracle Financials. I mean things that you've built internally. Processes that are unique to your firm. Internal software development efforts, which you have developed in-house. Intellectual property that you have, for example, within your data. Analytics data, big data of any sort, transactional data, customer data, anything along that line. And ask yourself this question. What new external products can you make? What new revenue streams can be made for your company based on the internal products that you have or the internal data which you have amassed? I'm going to give you a really small example of this. My company, Manager Mechanics, very, very small. We're even smaller than IBM, and we're even smaller than New Horizons by, well, an awful lot. Okay? A small company like mine, Manager Mechanics. What we did was we built our own e-learning platform. Now, it's not geared for big companies. I'm not trying to sell you anything. But the thing is that it was built and tuned for our firm, for a training company that does the kind of things that we do. So 2 or 3 of my business partners, other training companies that I work with, said, gee, who provides you technology? It seems to do everything you need to get done. And I said, well, we built it. So guess what they asked me? They said, can we use it? So I thought about it. I'm an IT person by background. As you saw, I'm actually a CIO. I went up through the software development ranks, both in software development and software internal to IT, as well as software engineering. So I productized it and soft launched our e-learning platform, and basically let a few of the firms I know use it. We don't really market it, but use it and pay me a monthly fee. So effectively, what I've done is our little IT department has now become a revenue stream that pays for my IT-related expenses. So why do I tell you this? Is if my company can do it, your company can do it. What intellectual property or services are in your firm right now, inside of IT, that you can sit back and say, gee, you know what? I bet this would make a great cloud-based product. You got to build it and maintain it anyway because you're using it internally. You might as well make some money on it. This is one of the newest areas in IT innovation. It's making IT a revenue center, not simply a cost center. Got you thinking now, don't I? Write these down and add this to your list of questions that you have from here. Now, when thinking about these things, what is the mental process by which to think about innovation? There are other formats, such as design thinking and so on. But I'm going to mention this one. And you know what? I mentioned design thinking. I'll just throw that one in for fun right after this. But here are the steps. First is engagement. By engagement, what I mean is you start thinking about it. You know, let's say, for example, from this last slide, you say, wow, you know what, intellectual property, we have this really cool database that we've collected regarding X type of statistics. I wonder if we could make a product out of that. Huh. All right, that is engagement. Something just resonates with you that you want to stop thinking about. And that could be you, and well, initially this would be you, just you. Next is cultivation. So that could be, you know, maybe talking to a few of your friends about it internally and saying, gee, you know what? We own this huge data set of people's IP addresses tied to their name and email address. I wonder if that's marketable. By the way, that one has already been done. I saw it in CIO World, CIO.com a couple of years ago. But anyway, I wonder if that could be valuable, or something else that you have internally. Gee, you know what? We built this great application that we use internally to keep track of conference rooms and other internal functions. I wonder if that would be a good cloud product. You start thinking about it and say, could we do this? Could we do that? I wonder how we would enhance this. I wonder how this piece of software that we use here could be used in this other department. And then you think about it for a while, and then you have the insight. This is where you go, bingo, and you come up with this idea, and you say, oh my God, this is great. Now, by the way, I should also say is that as I'm shooting through the numbers, you know, like this 50-minute, 55-minute presentation, this is actually a subset of a full-day class that we have. I'm not telling you that to say, gee, sign up for the class, which would be great. Obviously, talk to your Horizons rep. But the thing is that there's so much behind each of these, between each of these 7 steps. I'm not truly giving it justice, but hey, we only have an hour. Next is applicability. You come up with this great idea, and you say, gee, I wonder if the idea I've come up with will actually work. Does it make sense? Is it applicable to our IT organization and the business we serve? So you play with that, and then you validate it. You start talking to some other people, and you say, hey, I've come up with this great idea. What do you think? Will this work? This is part of you getting buy-in by getting other people to be involved with it. As you know, in corporate, in companies, if people aren't part of the solution, they ultimately become part of the problem or part of the barrier. So get their opinion, tie people in, start building a groundswell for it. And what does that do? That helps you get approval for it. And then ultimately, approval to move forward, which means funding, scheduling, and resources, or just maybe permission to do it. You have those things in place, and then it's implementation. Along with this, I quickly mentioned design thinking. That actually asks 4 questions. It's used by a number of different places. I'll just mention it briefly and then move forward. But what those 4 questions are is what is. In other words, what is the state of things right now? It grounds you in what's going on today. The next is what if? Like, ooh, wouldn't it be great if we did this? How could that work? So that's your forward thinking part. The next question is what wows? In other words, of the things that you've come up with that, what if? Some of them are really going to resonate with you and other people. And then once you sort of come up with these, the 4th question is what works? Because it's great for people to say, oh, I love this idea, but it's impossible to do because either the technology doesn't exist, you don't have the money to move forward on it, you won't get the resources to do it or whatever. Is those 4 questions can also, again, that's design thinking. There's a great MOOC, if you're familiar with MOOC, through Coursera.org. This specific one is by University of Virginia. Forgive me, I can't think of the name of it, but it's something around innovative thinking or innovation or something along that line which describes that concept in greater detail. Or in our class as part of this overall process. All right, now, we've talked a lot about innovation itself. Now let's talk about what are enablers within IT. The things in IT that will facilitate innovation being able to happen. All these innovative ideas are nice, but what happens is you actually have to be able to do it. So let's talk about some of these items. First, leadership and culture is for those of you in IT leadership roles, either head of a small IT department, head of a large IT department, a manager in charge of a group. You can be innovative simply within your help desk area or as the manager of PMs or whatever role you're playing in that regard. But the leaders have to want to facilitate and create a culture which is innovative. The first is cultural awareness, which basically means is that you understand how things work and what things don't work within your company. An innovative mindset. That's what we've been talking about all along, is that if you just say, well, I'm happy with how things are, never want anything to change, that is not an innovative mindset. It's how can we change things? What can we do to make things better? The idea of Kaizen, which I mentioned earlier. Next, and this one may sound weird, but it's a willingness for leadership to accept experimentation-based failure. That's when your boss comes to you. Let's say you're the boss, or let's say I'm the boss. How's that? I'm the boss. All right, and you come to me and you say, hey, boss, or, well, you can call me Eric. But anyway, you come to me and you say, hey, Eric, I got this great idea. I don't know if it'll work, but it could reduce our nightly production cycle by a couple of hours a night if I can pull it off. Should I give it a try? And I say, yeah, that sounds pretty good. Give it a try. And then you do, and you work hard on it, you think about it, you come back and say, hey, Eric, you know what? There were a couple of things I didn't think about. It helped us maybe 5-10 minutes, but it didn't have the 2-hour improvement I thought it would. Now, what can I say as the manager? I could have the willingness to accept experimental-based failure and say, hey, Brian, you know what? I really appreciate you trying to do this. We got a few minutes out of it, but it was really worthwhile. This one didn't work out, but please come with more good ideas. I could say that to Brian. Brian, I'm picking on you. Hope that's okay. And or I could say to Brian, hey, Brian, you said it was going to work. You put a lot of time into it. We could have been doing other things. If it's not going to work, then don't bring up the idea. What were you thinking? Now, those are the 2 scenarios by which I could speak to Brian on this. Now, which one of those do you think is going to cause Brian to come up with more ideas, or to say, or to never come up with a good idea again? Exactly. I'm sure you think, well, yeah, obviously. The first one, I've gotten Brian all juiced for wanting to do it. So is that if he then comes to me, and he'll come to me with another idea, because what am I doing? I am recognizing the effort and the willingness to try. Hopefully it'll work. But if it doesn't, it's, you don't know until you try it. With the second one, Brian will never come to me with another idea because there's too much risk in it. I am not giving him a safety net to try it and see how it goes. And next is the want for continuous improvement. That ties again back to the Kaizen thing and management's want to continually enhance. Organizational learning. A lot of times is that innovation comes from new techniques, new processes, new technologies that are created, new best practices that are designed. We have to be willing as an organization to bring those into our organization. But all of these innovative things bring what? They bring change. And change brings what? Change brings conflict. So as a result of that, the organization has to have a clear ability to be able to handle these conflicts or prevent them in a way that keeps the innovative momentum going and doesn't squash it in the details of trying to implement great potential new ideas. By the way, just as a reminder, if anyone has any questions, please pass them Brian's way. Brian, feel free to interrupt me if a good question comes in, or we'll have a few minutes at the end, of course, to be able to discuss. Next is if you're going to be innovating for the business, you have to understand the business's goals and objectives. There are things within IT that could simply be an IT innovation. For example, speeding up the nightly production cycle, or a better way of tracking incoming calls to the help desk to dispatch them in a way that maybe is geolocated so people aren't having to walk as far to the next office. There are things like that, but if you're going to provide true innovation for the business, you really need to understand the business in order to do so. And with that, there has to be collaboration between IT and the business. Imagine IT going to the business people. This is going to be the change where I was Brian's boss. Now it's the IT function and the business function. Where I go to, let me say I'm an IT, I go to the business and I say, now, Brian, you have now changed from being my employee to now being my business partner. How's that? And I say, hey, Brian, in implementing one of our systems in your group, I saw a great idea. It's not IT related, but it could be a great enhancement for you. Do you mind if I tell you about it? Brian could say one of two things. He could say, you know what, your IT on the business is that when I want innovation for the business, I'll tell you what I want. It's, all right, go ahead, do what you want. Or it's open, it's an open relationship. The other direction of it, Brian could say, hey, you know what, some of the things you're doing for me are really just spinning our wheels. There's a couple of really cool things you could do that I think would help you help us. I could say, hey, we're IT, we know what we're doing, just accept our service. Or that could be very career limiting, since Brian would probably be having input into my performance review, but story for another day. But the thing is if I'm open to working with Brian and listening to his feedback, is that could be of great value to me in us working together to come up with innovation. Now, as you're looking innovation with the business, it comes in two ways. As you see on the bottom, discipline-based and function-based. Discipline-based innovation is when you're helping a specific department. You're implementing big data analytics so you can do predictive analytics from a big data perspective, helping the marketing group figure out where to put its marketing dollars. The accounting department isn't really going to care about that. Or maybe in the accounting department you found a new way of a new budget reporting system that would be of value to them. That's discipline-based. Functionality-based is finding out, say, for example, something that would be of value to all departments. Scheduling meetings, software, conference rooms, something related to email. But function-based means everybody can use it. Discipline-based means it's just used in a specific section. Both are of great value and have their own, benefits and difficulties to roll out, etc. But at the end of the day, both are of great value to the business you serve. Next, proactive and creative associates. You know, thinking outside the box is that you want to be able to motivate people to be innovative. Tying back to that first discussion with Brian, let's say his performance review comes up, and I say, I was very impressed by Brian's idea to enhance the nightly production cycle. As it happens, it didn't bear the fruit we had hoped it would, but I was very, very impressed with his willingness and ability to come up with this idea and move forward. Now, you think that's going to motivate him to come up with new ideas? You bet it is. Also, what it is it will make him feel safe to put innovative ideas forward. Because you want your staff, your boss should want you to be looking for opportunities and to look at these opportunities. I mean, to look at these issues as opportunities, not problems. Not like, oh God, there's a problem we got to fix. No, there's opportunity for you to correct something. Because you know one thing great about innovative things that you implement? It's the gift that keeps on giving. The reason is because once you fix a process and enhance it, that process will be enhanced forever. So it's a short-term cost for an ongoing long-term gain. So these are the kind of things that you want to present to your groups. What to think of yourself. Lastly, it's a commitment to quality improvement. If you ask yourself every day, how can I enhance the quality of our software, the quality of our technical processes, the quality of the business processes, some of which we are helping through automation, some of which are on the business side, or even getting into more technical areas like the quality of data, data management. The data management cycle, is all data being collected correctly, stored correctly? Is there data that could be used in other ways, either for advanced analytics, for predictive, predictive analytics? Which, by the way, Google does. Not Google. Google does it also, but Amazon does it on you all the time. People that bought this book also bought that book. How much money do you think that's made Amazon over the years? How do they know that people who bought that book bought this, or bought this book, bought that other book? Is because there's analytics behind it. They say, all right, how many people bought this book and this book? And if it's a high number, they include it there. And I know I have. Have you ever said, oh, cool, that sounds like it'd be a pretty good book too? Click. All of a sudden, you get a second book, and they make more money. You know, that comes from quality improvements, both in the quality of data, but also in the usage of data. Next, seeking and accepting feedback. What I mean by this is that as IT people, we're delivering a service. We can say, yeah, we're building technology, yeah, we're doing this, yeah, we're doing that. But at the end of the day, what we're really doing is we're providing a service. We're solving a problem. Hopefully you're not creating a problem, but we're solving a problem. So if our business people come to us, or our boss comes to us, or anyone comes to us and says, hey, could you do this a little bit different? It would help us out. Or, you know what, I really didn't like the way the status report was written. It doesn't meet my needs. Don't get all huffy about it. I don't know where huffy came from. My God, I don't think I've used the word huffy. And I don't know if I've ever used the word huffy. But anyway, don't get all upset about it. What you want to do is you want to sit back and say, wow, how can I use this information to improve the service that I provide to that client? That client could be your boss. That client could be someone on the business side. If you're a if you're a DBA who's defining, who's normalizing databases that are then used by the programmers to build software, then for you DBAs out there, your clients are the programmers. If you're a business analyst, your client is not only the business people you're building the system for, but it's the programmers who are receiving your specifications. If a programmer comes to you and says, I really don't understand what you mean by this, is that you should take a step back and say, wow, why doesn't he understand it? How could I have presented this differently so it would be easier to understand? You might say to yourself, to improve your own process, say, gee, why did I put all this in text? I could have saved a bunch of time if I just put 8 or 10 bullet points, and it would have been easier for him or her to understand. It would save me a chunk of time. This is how we improve, is by seeking and then accepting feedback when it comes. It's an IT thing. You know, we can't not have at least one Einstein quote. I think it's the law. But it's so true. And the quote is here, is we can't solve problems by using the same kind of thinking we used when we created them. You know, when I think of this and think of thinking outside the box, think of diversity. Now, diversity is, you know, by diversity I mean small d, not big D. Big D is, you know, ethnicity and gender, which, by the way, is also included in small d. But I want to expand what I mean by diversity. Is it someone who has a computer science degree, someone who has a liberal arts degree, someone who's a baby boomer, someone who's a millennial? You know, people who come to things from different perspectives and different backgrounds think of things and solve problems in different ways because of their difference in perspective. This is so powerful within an IT organization because you know what? Outside the box thinking for you may be inside the box thinking for someone else, and vice versa. Now, from here, say, all right, you know, we've talked about innovation, sort of what it is, the enablers of it, things along that line. What I'd like to talk about now is opportunities within IT to innovate. In other words, is that what this isn't a complete exclusive list. But my goal is, in this section, is to just get you thinking about it a little bit. Okay, we do something like that. Or that wouldn't make any sense here, but if we changed it to do it that way, that might be of value. Let's look at some. Now, what this is this is actually 8 areas. This is I'm proud of this slide actually because it's in my new book, Productivity Driven Success. But I wanted to pull this one slide from that class because these are all areas. If you don't want to buy the book, just write it down. Of areas where you can look for productivity improvements and innovation. The first of which is interactive, enhanced delegation, better ways of running meetings, because what do? They save time. Communication, when should you be using email versus calling people versus doing things in person versus Skype type technologies. As a management and as well as with personal, what time-based management can you do? How can you improve your own personal productivity? As an example, it's actually on April 2nd, I think it is. I'm actually doing a TED Talk on what's called leveraging your zone, TEDx to be exact. And what it is, it's on the four productivity zones that people have. The first, they spell actually out the word task. The first of which is when you're on the top of your game. When are you going to do that? Well, when I'm designing this webinar, when I'm writing columns, when I'm writing books, when I'm doing proposals for clients, when I'm designing class materials. That's when I'm at really the top of my game. You know, the next one is I'm able to do lots of things. I'm really good there. I'm alert, but I'm not particularly productive. I mean, I'm particularly creative. Not a good time for me to write. Then there are times when we're sluggish, when, you know, we can still get some work done, and then there's others where we're just trying to keep awake, where we're like cleaning our office and going to our spam folder. The last area where you can find innovation in process is from an organizational perspective. What ongoing processes can you improve? You know, the way that help desk rolls out to different people through the day, the productivity processes. What assets are you using now? For example, you might use Microsoft Project within IT. Are there business areas that can use Microsoft Project to their advantage since you have a corporate license anyway? And knowledge transfer. That may be from baby boomers who are beginning to retire or have already, who have already begun to retire, trying to transfer their corporate knowledge, even if it's on essentially on legacy systems, on internal processes, to younger millennials who are coming into the IT organization. These are all areas that can provide innovation through enhanced process and productivity. Next, mobile device deployment. I'm actually writing a paper on this right now for IDC regarding mobile devices. Is that where can you go? What can you do to use mobile devices as a way to enhance your organization's ultimately productivity, which is driven by innovation. Maybe it's location awareness. So you have trucks out there that you're delivering newspapers, delivering milk, or whatever they're doing. Put geolocators on them so that when you have to, so you can see where they are. School systems, quite frankly, are putting geolocators on the roofs of their school buses so they can see if all the kids will be in school on time. Maybe it's other things related to additional products. It's giving to your salespeople, your road warriors, so to speak, CRM and data entry capabilities directly off of the platform. I'm going to give you a quick example of that. My wife and I were looking to buy life insurance. So what we do is we had two firms, two life insurance people come to the house. The first one collected our information and said, you know what, all right, let me run the numbers back at the office and I'll be back to you in a week with, with what the premiums would be and a potential offer. The second company that came, and this is a true story, and this was only a couple of years ago, all right, we're not talking 1995, all right, when high tech was, the new and exciting world of high tech. This was 2 years ago. The other firm, the salesperson comes, and we say, well, you know what we're thinking about, and so on. What's he do? He pulls out his iPad. I always get the two confused. I don't know why. But pulls out his iPad and says, all right, how old are you guys? And what are you looking for money? What are you looking for this? What are you looking for that? Blah blah blah. And right on his iPad. Right on his. It's funny. I do a class through New Horizons. We're the exclusive provider for it, called the Steve Jobs Way. Leadership and innovation you can use. In fact, a couple of these slides are from that. And I continually mess up iPod and iPad. I think I could get them squared away in my head. But anyway, takes out his iPad, and says, different scenarios. And he shows it to me. He says, well, how about this one? Well, could we tweak it this way? How about that one? And we went through 7 or 8 scenarios in about 20 minutes, right off of his mobile device. Guess which firm got the sale? So how can you use mobile devices to your firm's advantage? Next, social media. There is a plethora of ways. I like to use the word plethora because it makes them sound smart. But anyway, there are a plethora of different ways that you can use social media to your advantage. Collaboration through crowdsourcing. Who was it? It's Deloitte, PwC. So one of these big firms was coming out with a new type of analytics platform. What they did was they asked thousands of their clients how to do it. What do you want from us? So that there's crowdsourcing for information, which is collaboration. There's collaboration software, like Google's. You can do it directly on Google's Google's Office product. I can't think of what the name of it is. But right off their cloud-based Word. In fact, there was a great ad that Google had out on, who was the firm? Hall & Oates, writing the song, one of their songs, and they showed right on screen collaboration with the two, where Hall and Oates were going back and forward on a specific lyric. So you can do that, new ways of training, whether it's classroom-based, e-learning-based, whether it's live or virtual, and things along that line. There are so many ways that you can use social media to your company's advantage. This one slide could be a full day's class. Next is big data. I include big data in this for 2 reasons. One of which is, I just think that's a really cool picture of big data with zeros and ones and an elephant. All right, got that out there. But the thing is that many companies, you can use big data within your firm in 2 ways. One of which is through the collection of data, the data you have now. How can you use it to your company's advantage? There's I'm going to be the first one. I'm raising my hand as we speak here. Okay. In the old days, for those of you who are in charge of web servers, what happened when the log files got too big? What did we do? We truncated them. Why? Because the only thing that we used web logs for was what? So that if the web server blew up, we can go back and analyze the last 2 or 3 minutes of what happened to see why it went down. Because the tools didn't exist yet to really analyze how people were using our website. So you may have lots of this big data hidden in the nooks and crannies of your data center. Or also, there's companies out there. But what you can do is you don't have to collect all this big data yourself. They collect. There are about half a dozen firms out there who collect every tweet. And then what they do with it, they allow you to go with analytics, go to them and say, hey, what are people tweeting about, the Democrats or the Republicans or our new product release or whatever it might be that's of interest to you. So you can use it to assist the product marketing people on putting new features in your product. You can use it to define what your new product should be. If you're moving toward digital transformation and integrating digital capabilities into your existing product set, this will help you maybe define how those products should be designed. There is so much with big data. If you're not familiar with any of these items that I've been picking up so far, you really should go back and now start studying these, whether it's through more webinars like these, by going to CIO.com. Oh, actually, if I said CIO.com, is that I should just say that I do write for them. I have a column called Driving IT Productivity. I just have to put that disclaimer in because legally. But anyway, or go to what's the other one? ZDNet, or the Ziff Davis one. Go to Information Week. Just find a couple of sources of things going on within your industry and within the technologies that you're working on, which can broaden, back to our very first slide, broaden your mental thoughts and broaden your perspective on how these type of tools can bring innovation to your IT organization. Next is data visualization. This is the coolest thing. What it does is it converts your data through graphs, through heat maps, through other visual type capabilities, just so that it makes it easier for humans to be able to analyze. Why? Because there's two types of thinking: program thinking and lateral thinking. Lateral thinking is where people look at images or they look at collective data and they try to make sense of it. That's why when you look up into the sky, you'll say, oh, look, that cloud looks like Elvis. Why do you say that? Does it really look exactly like Elvis? No, but humans try to find patterns when they look at things. So the more that you can provide data in a visualized form, the greater and quicker meaning that it will be to those people analyzing or needing that data. And there's just enormous great tools out there that can help you do this. Everything from Tableau to the graphics components in Hyperion, in business objects, in Excel graphics. When I say even, no disrespect meant, it has incredible graphics capabilities that are free. They're on your desk. Take advantage of them. So how can you use data visualization to enhance what you're needing? Now, there are many others that we could have gone into. 3D printing, green computing, digital. I mean, it goes on and on. Areas where you could be doing this. The new IBM stuff on what they're calling GeoIP, which is related to using people's physical location. There's just so much that you could be doing, but you need to open your eyes and ask the question, what if? There are also three great quotes that I think just tie really appropriately to this. Wayne Gretzky, if you're not familiar with him, he's one of the best hockey players of all time. And what he said, when they said, how do you always in the right place? He says, you want to be where the puck is going, not where the puck is. Or George Bernard Shaw is, you see things and say why, but I dream of things that never were and say why not. Or lastly, the best way to predict the future, and quite frankly, your professional future, is to invent it. From here, what I'd like to do is I'd like to open it to questions. Certainly, Brian, if you have any, let me know. And just briefly tell you just some things we have coming up. As we have this month's free webinar on IT, fostering IT innovation. Next month is on April 12th. and it's called Cloud Computing, Operational and Data Issues. We also have a one-day class coming up in March on managing virtual teams. What we also have is on a virtually monthly basis, we're the governing body for 2 certifications in IT management. And with that, we have a 3-day boot camp culminating with actually an online certification exam you can take. 75 questions, that kind of thing. And it touches in 3 days all of these topics. Cloud computing, conflict resolution, and the others you see here, data governance, but really packed into 3 days of drinking through a fire hose. That's next offered in a couple of weeks from now, toward the end of March. You can't make that one. It's also available in April. We also have a higher level of those. If you say, well, I've been in IT a long time, I'd like to take a step up from that, we have a higher level version of it called the ITMLE, which is IT, obviously, information technology, leadership and professional executive, which will be offered again in April. That one is only 3 times a year and has 10 more advanced IT topics. From here, what I'd like to do is I'd like to turn it back to Brian to say any questions that have come in or whatnot.
Okay, Eric. First, I'd like to say thank you. It seems like throughout your presentation, I had a lot of really good ideas. So I like when you use me as an example. It really gets me excited for the day when I have so many good ideas. But you know what? There were a few questions that came in, but they were simpler answers, more around recording and things like that. I don't see any additional questions this time, so I'd like to first thank you for still being able to take care of this and do this webinar for us since you are in Denver doing your presentation today. I'd like to thank everybody who did attend. Once again, you'll get a follow-up email with access to the recording, which you can find on our YouTube channel. It's NH Learning Solutions YouTube channel. And I'll send that out here very shortly for everybody to go back and review if they would like. So thank you once again, Eric, and thank you everyone for attending.
Great. Thank you all for being on the line. I hope it was of value to you. Brian, again, thank you for engineering, and thank you to New Horizons for sponsoring today's webinar.
Absolutely. Have a great one.